Hello, hello, hello. How are you today? I don't have any notes, so I'm just going to be ad-libbing. How are you doing today? You know, it's so dreary out today. It's not raining right now, but it was raining and it's cool. I don't even know if I'll go for a walk today, to be honest with you. And if I do, I'll probably have to wear a jacket and long pants. Anyways, I'm not talking about the weather today. My name is Linda. I'm your back in the groove again coach. And I want to talk about if you are in the right job or not. Hello, Gutley. How are you today? It's nice to see you here. I want to know, are you in the right job? That's what we're going to be talking about. Gutley, do you think you're in the right job? Do you know if you're doing the kind of work that's been kind of designed for you, for your personality, for your strengths, for your abilities? I'm really, really curious. I want to give you a couple of examples here. First, let me think. Okay, so if I came on and I said, "Hi, everybody, how you doing today?" Yo, yeah, what's happening, dude? And I'm full of energy, full of energy, and it's I'm almost like a crazy person who's using all sorts of different words. Would I be able to keep that up? No, I wouldn't be able to keep it up. Hello, Tina. How are you? How are you today? I wouldn't be able to keep up that type of energy. And I'll tell you why. It's because I know myself. I've done some assessments that was able to help me understand why I am who I am and why I behave a certain way. Now, I've learned over the last few years that I am on the fence. I'm not an extrovert and I'm not an introvert, although I do get some energy from my external. I also need to take some time for myself. So if I was in a position, in a job that I had to be high energy all the time and yo, I'm just kidding with the yos. I don't think I'd be doing the yos all the time. But if I was in a job that I had to be using my high level of energy all the time, it would probably A, drive me crazy. It would probably drain me by the end of the day. And I would probably go home and go, oh, I don't want to do this again the next day. Now, have you noticed if you are in the right job or not? And I really want to hear from you. How do you know if you are in the right job or not? You know, if you don't know who you are or parts of your personality or what your strengths are and maybe what your areas that need to be developed are, uh, you might take a job just because you need to have a job. And if you take a job just because you need to have a job, well, wait, let me talk a little bit about that in a second. We've all been in a situation where we've needed to take a job because we had to work. Okay, I've done it. I've worked in jobs because I needed the money. I have. Okay, let's admit it. Let's put that out on the table. That's the truth. But those jobs that I've picked for different reasons, especially because I needed the money, were never really jobs that matched my interest or matched my personality preferences or matched my strengths. I was doing it mostly because for my cognitive reasons were telling me you need to get a job, get yourself a job. And so I found work more for money, right? So you will know if you're not in the right job. And I do want to hear from you here. How do you know when you're not in the right job? What are some of the indications when you're not in the right job? Let's hear from a few of you out there. How do you know when you're not in the right job? Well, I'll give you a few examples. You're probably going to start thinking you hate your job. Or maybe not even you hate your job. Maybe when you wake up in the morning, you're not going to want to go to work. Maybe you don't say you hate your job, but you dislike a lot of parts of your job or a lot of tasks, that are related to your job. How will you know if you are in the right job? Tell me, Agnes, tell me, Tina, tell me, Goodlay, how do you know when you're in the right job? When you're in the right job, it seems that you're flowing naturally. It seems that you're happy, that it brings out the best in you, that it brings out your natural abilities. Have you ever noticed that? That when you're in the right job, you are content. You don't dispute it. You just know you're in the right environment. And your boss might ask you to start doing things because he knows that you have the abilities to do it. And so you start growing, from that position. So I want to talk a little bit about the benefits of getting some assessments done. Now, for two different reasons. I was talking to a client this morning, and she mentioned that she passed the first part of the telephone interview. Great. I help her with her interview. That's part of what I do as a career coach. I will help people prepare themselves for interviews, among other things. But she mentioned now that part 2 of this process is she'll have to go online and complete some assessments. Now, why do employers ask you to complete assessments? Does anybody know why employers want you to complete assessments? Anybody that's watching right now, have you ever completed assessments before? Now, a couple of reasons why is they want to make sure that you are suitable for that environment. They want to make sure you are the right fit for that environment. Employers spend a lot of money on the recruitment period. They spend a lot of money interviewing you, and sometimes the interviewing part is one way of assessing you, of course. Sometimes they'll even ask you to do some additional work. For example, I've had clients in the past that have had to go through a simulation, which was like a pretend situation that helped the employer decide whether or not they were suitable for the job. I've had clients write down tests, answer certain questions on the test in order for the employers to assess whether or not the person was suitable for the job. I've had employers ask questions in a different language. I speak French, and I worked in a environment that was primarily French. And although our interviews were led in French, a lot of times we asked questions in English because we wanted to, in a sense, assess whether the person was able to speak English, for example, right? So there's different types of ways of evaluating whether you're a good fit from a company's perspective. And then a company will also ask you to go on a certain website and complete assessments so that they can also determine whether or not you're suitable to work for the company. And there are different types of assessments, but some of those that my clients did, and I'm just trying to think because this was a few years back, they went on the site, they had to create a profile and answered questions, very personal type of questions in terms of, for example, what would you do if one of your colleagues stole money? How would you respond to that? Or how would you deal with a customer who was really, really upset with you? And there are multiple answers, and you had to choose a particular answer. Right, so employers will use different types of assessment, many, many different types of assessment to help you determine whether you're suitable or not. But A career coach will also use some assessments to help you, the client, determine what might be the ideal job for you. And I'll just name a couple of them that I use, and I use different ones, but I've used the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, MBTI, and I created video series on the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, but so I'm not going to explain each preference. But in general, it's an inventory or an assessment tool that's used to help you understand your personality preferences better. I mentioned at the beginning of my live that I'm more of an introvert, and I know that because I've done I've done enough work on myself to know that I prefer getting my energy from going inside and taking some time to reflect. But this was also confirmed when I completed the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. So it's a really useful assessment. The other one that I use is the emotional intelligence. It's called the EQI 2.0. Now that one is more to help you determine which emotional intelligence skill you use more of. And it compares you to other people where you're able to kind of see where you're at now when it comes to self-awareness. And if you give me a second, I'm going to show you what the EQI grid looks like. Give me 1 second. Oh, sorry, I wasn't planning on talking about the EQI, and this isn't exactly the best model here. I mean, it's the model, but it's not in color. I couldn't find my other one. Sorry, guys. But the EQI assesses your self-perception, your self-expression, your interpersonal skills, decision-making skills, and stress management skills. And it gives you kind of a snapshot of those skills today, for example, right? So that if you wanted to apply for a management position and you were kind of low on the self-awareness scale, it might be helpful for you to know this, because you could work on improving your self-awareness so that when you deal with certain colleagues or certain employees, that you're able to tune into that type of awareness. That's just an example. Another one that I've used is the Strong's interest, which basically looks at your personality and also matches your personality with certain careers, certain interests. So it's really, really beneficial, to complete some of these inventories, some of these assessments, to help you understand yourself better, to know who you are. And that way, when you're working along with a career coach, you're able to find work that is more suitable for you, instead of choosing just a job just because you need to have a job, which is not necessarily bad, right? Because sometimes we need to do that, but it's also helpful to find work that does match your personality more, your interests more. And if you're not aware of your personality, or if you're not aware of your interests, then you might end up by being unhappy in work. And sometimes you're not unhappy right away, but over time you notice, I'm not happy. I'm not enjoying my job as much. All right, so that's what I wanted to talk about. I hope that this was helpful to you. Any questions or comments? I know we've got one person that's watching right now. Hello, welcome. Thank you for being here. And I'm wondering if you have any questions about what I talked about today. Any questions at all? All right. What I'm also going to be doing after our live is I'm going to be adding a link to our live because I've created a video series that's going to be very helpful to help you identify or discover your ideal career. It's called The 5 Secrets to Discover Your Ideal Career. It's a video series that will help you do some work to help you identify your ideal career. And so, of course, I'm going to add the link to that in just a few moments. And wait, can I add the link right now? I think I can. So here's one way for you to access that. This is one way, but the other way too is, if you give me 1 second, I'm going to find the link to my landing page where you'll also be able to sign up to get the link. In the meantime, I want to know more about who you are. I know there's a couple of people viewing me right now. So can you tell me a little bit about the type of work that you do? What kind of work do you do? What kind of work do you do? I don't see anybody adding any comments. I'm not sure what type of work you do. Can you give me an idea of what type of work maybe you'd love to do if you're not working right now? What type of work would you love to do if you're not working right now? All right. Well, you know, you could always add comments to the comment section after the video because you probably have just popped in to this live and you might have missed parts of this live. So I'm going to add the link to to my landing page in just a few minutes following our live. Thank you for being here today. I'm really glad that you're here, and stay tuned for my next live. Bye now. See you soon.